All right, let's get going here. We're going to talk about a racetrack that we have never talked about on this show before. John and I have been doing this for a very long time, which I really still can't believe. Time flies so fast. Thistledown. Thistledown. And this is in Ohio, a track. I'm sure everybody knows it but me.
You're gonna drive? Are you gonna drive there for the day? Not too far from you, Greg.
Yeah, nah, I'm all the way. I'm as far west you can go in North Carolina. I'm 3.5 hours from Charlotte. So, all right, a mile. We're going to go with races 11 and 12. The big one, of course, is the Ohio Derby. That's kind of the reason that we decided to take this track this week, because there's really not a lot going on this week as far as graded stakes races. But we're going to go 11 and 12 at Thistledown, and they're both mile and 8 races, I believe. The first one is Lady Jacqueline, the Lady Jacqueline Stakes, 250 for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. This should go off about 5:35 on Saturday. It's a 12-horse field, and it's a good wagering race. I mean, it looks like there's about almost half the field that may have a shot. But yeah, John, did you have a definite in this, or do you have a few horses that you really think are better than the rest?
Well, you have 3 horses that are faster than the rest. Unfortunately, they'll probably be the 3 favorites. They're listed at 9-2. The 4 horse La Davida, the 5 Misty Veal, and the 8 Interstate Dreaming. Those 3 horses run 10s and 11s. The 6 is off a 9 top. It looks like she has to bounce, and the rest of them are too slow. So it's really a game time decision, because basically all 3 of them have the same shot off the figures. So what you really want to do is probably bet the longest of the 3, you know.
And those 3 horses you mentioned just faced off against each other at Pimlico, right?
That's correct. And the 8 beat them. So
yeah,
Interstate Dreaming. So.
They went 1, 2, 3.
The only thing though with that is, I mean, she really kind of walked the dog. She made an easy lead.
She had everything her own way. And
the thing is here, even though some of these local contenders are probably too slow to win the race, they're not too slow to affect the outcome. And I do think that there's a couple of horses here that can entertain Interstate Daydream in the front, which would kind of lose the advantage that she had at Pimlico. And I think with the connections, Brad Cox, Florent Theroux, I think Interstate Daydream is the likely favorite of the 3. And so I'm going to try and beat Interstate Daydream here and take the other 2.
Yeah, listen, Interstate Daydream is also spotting 6 pounds to the other 2 horses, where last time they were all carrying the same weight. So
right, let's take a look
now she's picking up 6 pounds, where the other horses are actually losing 2 pounds. So makes a difference.
Let's take a look at the sheets for those 3. The 8, as you mentioned, Interstate Daydream, has 3 11s this year. 2 11s, by the way, in the 2 mile and an 1/8 races for Interstate Daydream, including the winner last year of the Black Eyed Susan, the big filly race before the Preakness. Ran an 8 and a 9 last year, but all 11 so far this year. Lida Vida, the 9-2 4 horse, this year 12, 12, 10, and 11. And Misty Veil, the 4-1 shot, the 5, has got a nice sheet line going. 8, 13, 13, 11, and 10. So Misty Veil actually looks like maybe, John, do you think that the 5 horse, the way it's going, maybe we see a 9 on Saturday?
Yeah, listen, she went off 21-1 last week against the other 2 horses. So she's not going to be bet. She's going to get some money, but she's not going to be bet. They didn't bet her last time. I don't think that they're going to bet her this time, but obviously she's not going off 20-1.
All right. So, and what about a couple of potential, not long shots, but other contenders? I'm going to look at Secret Fix, because they've got the top Thistledown combo of Gonzalez and Kim Poole. They're both kicking butt at the meet this year. The horse is 8-1. That's the only reason that I mentioned the horse, and that's probably the only reason the horse is 8-1, because of the combo there of those 2, because you only have 20, 14, 19, and 14 this year.
Yeah, you're talking about other horses that run 10. So,
yeah. And what about the 12 as well? Candlelight Hours, the 6-1. Now, 6-1, not sure that should be the case, but you got a horse that's 12 of 12 at Thistledown with 5 wins. And the sheet lines are going in the right direction. 20, 16, 14, but not at 6-1. I mean, if they give me 10 or 12-1, maybe I'll try to get an exacta payout in this one, but no way at 6-1.
No, and she's breaking from the extreme outside. She would have to run a new top, and she's only 6-1. She's a lot longer odds than 6-1 to run a 10 or better, and that's what she's going to have to do.
Where are you going to go?
The cool thing about the 12 Candlelight Hours, and James Jackson's actually going to win the race, the trainer. James Jackson, if people haven't seen him before, he was at Great Lakes Downs for a long time in Michigan. He's a Michigan guy. He used to spend he'd go to Keeneland and then go to Michigan, which was a very unorthodox kind of thing. He does not look like a horse trainer one little bit. He looks like he should be playing middle linebacker for the Carolina Panthers, and then has a giant cowboy hat and cowboy boots. That he's all cowboy, but he's built more like a middle linebacker than anything else.
Who are you going to go with in this one, John?
Well, I guess I'm going to go. I told you I was going to keep the longest of the three of them, so it's probably going to be the 4 or 5. But
okay, so you don't have to. Yeah, and your picks. When are they going to be out for this race?
Probably tomorrow.
Okay. So you want to know exactly who John takes? You can order John's
you don't
picks.
have to. I'll tell you now. I'm taking 5 with 4 and 8, or 4 with 5. You know what? I'm going to go 4 with 5 8. 4 with 5 8.
Okay, 4 with 5 8. Chad?
I'm going to go the other way around. I'm going to take the 4 La Davida for the Chilean bred contender.
So look, that's just 4.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah.
So why did you say the other way around?
You said 5 with 4.
No, 4.
He changed his mind. 4 to 5.
4
yeah.
with 5 8.
All right, so we're on the same page to keep the streak going. Look, jockey Vincent Chimeno has done a really, really good job. He knows this filly well, which I think is an advantage. A lot of the other riders are hopping aboard for the first time. And look, Jareth Loveberry's trying to have a monster day riding Misty Vale and then come back and ride 2 fills in the Ohio Derby. But I like a rider who knows his horse. Vincent knows that here with La Vida. Ignacio Correas, Nacho, those horses always ship well. And she's going to finally have some pace to run at. She's a come from behind horse and hasn't had a chance to really have some fast fractions in front of her. You look at her running line, 48, 48 and 2, 48 and 4, her last 3 starts, and she's, behind 4 or 5 lengths. So if they go fast enough early, which I think they will with the James Jackson horse on the bottom you mentioned and a couple of the other ones, I really think that it's going to benefit Lady Vida, and I'm looking for Lady Vida to have a breakthrough performance. Misty Vale's a cool horse. Tonalists seem like they want to run all day. Obviously, we're well familiar with Country Grammar, who's a son of Tonalist, winning those races going 1.25 miles. She doesn't win that much. She's got 6 wins in 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to bank on her to finish second and complete the exacta, but I'm going to go with Lady Vida for the victory.
All right. Well, I'll take the 5. I'll go with the 5, and I'm going to try to make some money with the 6 and the 12. So that's race 11. We're now going to go to the Ohio Derby, race 12, and this should go off about 6:20 on Saturday night. Looks like it's a 3-horse battle between Bishop's Bay, the runner-up at the Peter Pan with Brad Cox training, and then you have the 4 Two Fills. Of course, that's the Kentucky Derby runner-up, winner of the JR Stakes prep race of the Derby. And then you have the 7 Lord Miles, the Safi Joseph horse, coming off a 9 in winning the Wood Memorial. So would I be wrong in saying it's a 3-horse battle, John?
It's similar to the 11th race where we have 3 horses there that are faster than the rest of the field. Well, the same thing happens here. These 3 horses are all faster. The question is who's going to run the better race on Saturday. I think Bishop's Bay's got the most upside to him. The other 2 horses, Two Fills has already been in the Derby. He's been in the Jack Ruby Stakes. He's been in the Risen Star. So we've seen the best of him. I don't think he's going to get better. And the same thing goes for Lord Miles. I was originally liking Lord Miles, but he was only 7-2. I think Bishop's Bay is going to run a new top, and that's the horse that I ended up on.
Well, I mean, John, I understand there's nothing left for Two Fills to accomplish per se, but let's take nothing away what he's done. I mean, he has the best. I understand.
I still think he's a synthetic horse. That 5 was on synthetic. I know the race.
That's the only race of his life. That's the only race of his life that he ran on synthetic. You can't call it.
Yeah, but it was also by far. It was also by far the best race he ran. Listen, he ran great in Derby. Take nothing away from his Derby performance.
Look, if you go back and you look at Two Fills running, first of all, I love the fact that this is the race he's been pointing to, Okay,
Okay.
it's, it's a $500,000 race. He could have gone to the Belmont, could have gone to the Preakness, could have gone to the Matt Win, which ended up being moved to Ellis, and it was kind of it poured down rain. If you look at Two Phils, right at the end of the day, if you look at who he's right, he won, he got beat by Forte, fine. He won, he got beat by Instant Coffee, he got beat by Angel of Empire. Then he won, and then he run second to Mage, who tripped out. I think this horse has done nothing wrong. I love the work pattern. I mean, the horse is just firing bullets like he's been ready to go. Just seems like this is just by design. This is the spot that they chose, the path of least resistance. And I know he's chalk here, but Two Fields is going to be my top selection. And I think this is a performance that kind of parlays him, whether you talk about going to the Haskell or just waiting for the Travers as a fresh horse. Two Fields, let's not take anything away. I understand that freaky number in the Jeff Ruby Stakes on the Polytrack, but he backed it up with his run in the Kentucky Derby. He was one of the only horses that was part of the early pace that stayed a part of the race. Everybody else kind of backed up and went way out the back door. And look, I mean, Kingsbarn came back the other day after setting those early fractions and ran well to run second, beating a nose in the race in Monmouth, and Verifying, who was part of the early pace, came back and ran a huge second in the Matt Win. So horses that were part of that early pace in Derby have come back and run a big race. No reason to think that Two Phils can't do that here. I understand what you're saying about Bishop's Bay, and take nothing away from the fact that he was second by a head by Archangelo last time out, who came back and won the Belmont Stakes. But I just think that I'm not convinced, despite the fact that that was a mile and eighth last time. I'm not convinced that Bishop's Bay really, really wants to go a mile and an eighth. I think he's probably a miler at the end of the day, and I think Two Phils has no problem getting the distance of ground here. And I think that's the difference in the races, where Bishop's Bay seems like he was kind of lost and floundering late. Is it possible that he was green? Is it possible that he's gaining experience? Is it possible that Archangelo is the best three-year-old in the country? Yes to all of them. But I think Two Phils is right now just a better horse than Bishop's Bay. So I'm going to go with Two Phils, and I'm going to try and beat Bishop's Bay for second, and look a little bit towards the outside with Hayes Strike, who's a little bit of an inconsistent horse. Runs a good race, runs a bad race. His Texas Derby, though, last time was very good. Nobody watched it because Lone Star's not a HISA-approved track, so you couldn't bet it, despite the fact that he was 7-1 for the 7 people that were at the track at Lone Star that day that got a $16 mutual. But that was a good field that he beat, and he did it the right way, and I think he's just kind of maturing and getting better. He's a son of Connect. He reminds me a lot of Rattle and Roll, another horse for Kenny McPeak, who's in great form right now. Right setting in the right field, he's okay, and I don't think he'll struggle with the mile and an eighth distance either. So I'm going to try and take Hay Strike for second, because Lord Miles, I'm sorry, look, and I don't know what's going on with Saffie Joseph, and I don't want to pass judgment, and I guess either does New York, since they gave him 23 stalls and he's running a horse on Saturday at Belmont. But the horse hasn't run since the Wood. He didn't know where he was going to be eligible to run. I just think that there's a lot of wonky stuff going on right now, and I just don't want any part of Lord Miles, despite the fact that his number in the Wood Memorial was actually a pretty good sheet number, right, John?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, I mean, he was a 9. His previous best was a 13. Does he have enough time, John, as far as if you're concerned with the bounce?
Well, for Lord Miles,
Yeah.
he ran in April. We're in June. He's
Yeah.
got plenty of, the ideal time between races is at least 6 weeks off of a top, so he's got plenty of time.
And is there a number though? Like, let's say if his previous number was because his previous best was 13, so that's a 4-point top. Do you take into account? All right, well now it's a 7-point top. Well, I that now he could probably bounce, or is there, how do you work that out?
Obviously, the bigger the top, the more likely is to react off of it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah. So what were you saying though? Because kind of reading, I'm trying to read between the lines, and I'm not. You're kind of implying something with the Saffie Joseph's barn, or
well, he was thrown out of Churchill. Then New York refused him any stalls because he had 2 horses die Derby week.
Okay.
So they were kind of giving him the Baffert routine, where you're not going to run here because we don't want you.
It's just, I mean, the thing is, when you're preparing a horse for a big race, you want to be able to prepare for the big race. This horse was scratched from the Derby not for sickness or soundness. He was then thinking about the Preakness and not entering the Preakness. Then the Belmont. then he wasn't allowed in the Belmont. Was he going to go to Monmouth, and they wouldn't let him run at Monmouth. So it's just been a little bit of a holding pattern, and it's just very difficult to train a horse on a holding pattern. That's the only thing.
Okay. John, what are you going to do as far as your exacta with the 3?
I'm going 3/4 7.
So 7 is going to be your long shot play. Oh no, that's the Lord
There is
Miles
no
pick.
long shot
Okay,
play.
you're
It's
not going to take a
3/4
long shot.
7.
Yeah, a couple
What
of
can I
these.
tell
Yeah,
you? Sometimes you got to take what they give you.
yeah, the 5 and 6. That's a disaster.
Yeah.
So the 8, as Chad said, that's the only shot to make any money. And the 1, Henry Q, the 5-1 shot, the Doug O'Neill horse who ran a 9 in February. Nothing there.
Yeah, that race was at Sunland Park. I don't know. I mean, he's okay. How far?
Yeah, but
How?
5-1, right? That's too low.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Look,
I'd rather bet the 3 at 3-1 than the 1 at 5-1.
Yeah, definitely.
His last breeze at Santa Anita on Sunday was very, very good. Very, very good. 59-4, did it the right way. But he needs to make up. Was it 8 lengths? He got beat 8 lengths by Bishop's Bay, and I don't know that he's going to make up the 8 lengths at the race that's the same distance.
Yeah,
But
especially.
that being said, Doug O'Neill, one of the luckiest guys in the world. So why not us? Why not now? Doug O'Neill and
Lucky.
Henry.
One of the lucky guys. Interesting. I wonder what that's about. All right, so there you go. Yeah, I'm not. I'm just gonna. I'm gonna listen to these guys as far as my picks, and that's gonna wrap it up. But next week, again, as we said before, we've got a big Breeders' Cup race, the Stephen Foster Stakes, and that's unfortunately. And again, it's at Ellis because of what they're screwing around with Churchill.
Yeah, they moved all the races. They thought that the track was unsafe or something, but meanwhile they're training over it every day. So I don't know how unsafe it is.
And what else do we have next week besides the Stephen Foster? Anything off the top of your guys' heads as I take a look at it?
Well, there's 4 or 5 big races that day at Ellis. It's a big day of racing.
It'll be Ellis. It'll be Ellis.
There's a couple of big races at Delaware Park that day as well. And there is the John Nehru when you're in for the Breeders' Cup in Belmont Park.
Oh, yeah. You've got the Dwyer.
And the Dwyer.
And the Nerude. You said the John A. Is that it, Nerude?
I'll tell you what. It's funny when you talk about the Dwyer because we've seen these 3-year-old crop, and Forte was a clear leader for a while, and still some people have him the leader. You add in horses like Mage and Arcangelo now. Obviously, you see the Stars horse or whatever his name is that won the Pegasus for Brad on Saturday was good. The Dwyer, we might see another horse from Brad Cox named Saudi Prince or Saudi Crown. Saudi Crown, I think is his name.
That's
and if you haven't seen this horse yet, you're in for a treat. So it'll be his first attempt at a stake race, stretching out to a little bit of a route of ground, albeit one turn. If he heads here for the Dwyer, which I believe that's the intended target right now, maybe not so much from a betting standpoint, but should be a really, really fun horse to watch and to look at moving forward as we get to what could be an unbelievable renewal of the Travers Stakes, the Midsummer Derby at the end of Saratoga.
Smile Sprint at Gulfstream. You got a bunch of stakes races, graded stakes races at Woodbine.
We'll figure it out. We always do.
Well, both ways. Hey, we support men and women here. Not only the Smile, the Princess Rooney, which is when you're in for the Breeders' Cup. The Smile is not. I never understood that. The Smile Stakes is not when you're in for the Breeders' Cup, but the Princess Rooney, which is the same distance, same day, is when you're in for the Breeders' Cup.
All right.
They
well,
make their own rules up, Chad.
We have not talked Gulfstream in a while. Maybe we will next week. Thanks, John. Appreciate it as always.
Talk to you next week.
Thanks, Chad. Take care, guys. All right. So that's it for John and Chad. And I'm just going to use this time here for because I didn't get an opportunity to say it at the beginning. We talked a little bit about it when we talked about our new patrons that joined us. A couple quick things because, as I mentioned, Rock was trying to add some more money to the account and so forth. Rock can't use, and I'm going to try to find out why, but Rock, being in Jersey, France, says he's unable to use the thanks icon on the channel. And that's how you donate money to the channel outside of being a member at Patreon. So I'm going to try to find that out, Rock, why you can't. Maybe there's a way you can. But most people can, and you can use the thanks icon to donate whatever you want to the channel. So keep that in mind. If you don't want to become a Patreon member for whatever reason, all you have to do is touch the, click the thanks icon on the bottom of the screen on the channel page. It's real easy. Pops up. You can say whatever you want. You can say this is for. You don't have to say anything, and you can donate whatever you want. So that's another way of donating. The other thing is Discord, and we are real close on that. I was gonna try to figure it out this week. Looks like we're gonna back it up to next week. Hopefully we'll be ready to go by next week's show. But in the next 2 weeks for sure, we are going to let you know how to join the Discord community. You may know already, but you may need a refresher, and we'll do that for you. And this way, you're in the Discord community. This is an opportunity where we'll be able to kind of just chat. Anything comes up, Chad, like for instance, the three of us usually make comments after the races every weekend on our cell phones. Screw that. When the Discord community comes up, that's where we're going to make our comments. And you're going to be able to join in as well. And then you can ask these guys, Chad and John, anything you like. They'll get back to you, direct questions. It's going to be easier for John and Chad as well than YouTube. And it's also going to be on Discord. So it's not going to be out for the entire world to see on YouTube. So it's a community only of people who join. And so only those people can see what we're talking about. So we're going to get to that. And yes, if you have not, the link in the description, of course, is going to be there. If you have not joined our Patreon membership, it's only $5 a month, and you get to watch these shows 2 days before minimum. Sometimes I might post it on Friday nights, but I'm sticking to Saturdays right now. So we're posting on Thursdays for everybody to see on Patreon only. Then we post on YouTube, and what we post on YouTube are just the picks. So you didn't get an opportunity. Well, yeah, because I'm still talking to the YouTubers. You didn't get an opportunity to watch what we talked about, and what I'll probably do is post it at some other time. I'll post it maybe when we're talking about Breeders' Cup races and things of that nature in the next week or two. What we did was we went over the 3 Breeders' Cup races over in England at Ascot, and we showed the races, and Chad gave his analysis and so forth and so on. So you can't see that. You can only see that kind of information. Talk about other things going on, especially with the Breeders' Cup season. Bunch of stuff that we're going to continue to talk about for the Breeders' Cup is going to take place before we do the picks for the races each week. So you can only see the entire show on Patreon. That's it. The picks are available on YouTube Saturdays, 2 days after we post it on Patreon. And like I said, at times, not all the time, but at times, I'll take some of the information that we have available on Patreon only, the stuff early, and randomly I'll post them. Hey, by the way, this is what you missed by not being a member on Patreon. This is what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, that kind of stuff. Not going to do it all the time, of course, but I will do it occasionally. And anyway, that's it. So it's a much better way and easier for me to talk about all this stuff when Chad and John are gone, because their schedules are so busy. So I can kind of chill out and talk with you guys, and we can all chill out and talk once we get that Discord community up, and I can't wait. So thanks for watching as usual, and we'll see you next week here on the Prime Sports Horse Report.